Heidi Rader. I'm with UAF Cooperative Extension Service and Tanana Chiefs Conference. I'm here at the Georgeson Botanical Garden at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and I'm talking about using herbs in cooking and storing herbs today. In another video, I talked about all the different kinds of herbs you can grow here in Alaska, and today I'll be talking about how to use those herbs and how to store those herbs. A couple ones I didn't mention in another video are marjoram, oregano, and thyme. And these ones are, used in a lot of Italian cooking and soups and are a great all-purpose type of herb. So the nice thing about growing your own herbs is you can use them as you need them in everything from soups to salads to baked goods to breads. It's really a question of what can't you use herbs in. And they're really quite flexible to spices, especially like cayenne or red pepper flakes. You'll notice if you use more than the recipe called for, but herbs are generally pretty flexible and you can play around with different flavor combinations that you like and experiment. So a great time to harvest herbs is in the morning to promote the most flavor of your herbs before the heat of the day. And so how you want to harvest herbs is you don't want to mow down the entire plant, but you do just want to take cuttings and promote continued leaf development. So take cuttings from throughout the plant, not just one area, and it's actually good to routinely use your herbs and to use them before they have gone to flower, as then they get a little bit woody and are not quite as flavorful. So I'm harvesting some marjoram here. So a couple things, if you wanted to use the herbs right away, then you'd want to strip the herbs from the stems and just use the herbs, and you can even use the flowers. But you don't generally want to use the stems, as they can be pretty woody and difficult to chew. If you wanted to dry these herbs, and it works well for woody type herbs, to hang them in a bundle and hang them up to dry. So for things like basil, which are more of a tender herb, the best way to dry them is in a dehydrator or on a screen, as they will crumble a little bit if you make a bundle. But I would just take these herbs, and let's grab a few more over here, and make a little bundle, and you could hang these up to dry like that. You could also just make a bundle for putting in a soup. That's called a bouquet garni. You could also put it in a little bit of cheesecloth and then pull out the whole bundle, and then you don't need to worry about stripping off the leaves from the stem, and you can just take the whole thing out and you've imparted a lot of the flavor. But another great thing to do is just take the leaves off the stem and then just chop it and use it in whatever dish you're planning on, salad or soup and whatnot. Another thing you can do is chop or blend or use a food processor and blend up your herbs and then mix them with oil. So maybe a couple cups of any fresh herb and a half cup of oil. That really helps preserve the flavor and the essential oils as well. And then you can freeze it. You could even put it in an ice cube tray, and then you have an easy way to just use a little bit of herbs at a time. Another common thing to do with basil especially, but you can use a lot of different types of herbs, is to make pesto. So for pesto, you're going to want about 2 cups of packed basil. You're going to want about a half cup pine nuts, a half a cup of Parmesan, 3/4 cups of olive oil, and and a couple cloves of garlic. So you would blend all of that up, or you can chop it very finely, which is a little bit more work, but that's what I have here, and mix it all up together, and that makes a really nice sauce for pasta, for pizza, or even sandwiches. And you don't have to use basil, you can use something like arugula. Instead of pine nuts, you could use walnuts, and you can really experiment with the general concept behind pesto to preserve your herbs. Another thing you can do is use herbs in tea, either dried or fresh. So lemon balm is an excellent herb for making a tea. I'll just harvest a little bit here of lemon balm. It has a really nice lemony flavor, and that makes an excellent tea. And so you would just want to chop it. You also want to bruise your herbs a little bit before you use them, and that will release some of their flavors. Another way you can preserve herbs is if you buy them from the farmer's market or the store, you can simply put them in a vase of water with the stems down, much like you would a bouquet of flowers, and that will really enhance how long the herbs keep as well. Of course, if you have your own herb garden, you don't really need to harvest them in advance of when you're cooking them, so you don't really need to do that. But especially if you buy them from the farmer's market, just put it in a vase like you would a bouquet of flowers. Another great way to preserve herbs, and nice way to use them, is by adding them to vinegar. So you want a sterile jar, and you can use any type of herbs that you think would taste good. This is basil and marjoram, and you want to just pack the jar, and with your fresh herbs, bruise them a little bit, and then add vinegar to it. You don't need to heat up the vinegar, but you can heat up the vinegar if you want your vinegar to be flavored more quickly. So pack in your herbs. This purple basil is going to turn the vinegar a nice crimson color, and let it sit for 2 or 3 days, and then you'll have a nice flavorful vinegar that will keep for quite a long time. Good types of vinegars to use are rice vinegar or white wine vinegar. You don't want to use apple cider vinegar, for instance, because the flavor is so strong, you probably will not taste the herbs as well. So those are different ways to store and preserve and use herbs from your Alaskan garden. Oh, and one more thing I want to show you. UAF Cooperative Extension Service has a great book. It's called An Alaskan Herb Garden. It's all about which herbs you can grow here in Alaska, how to cook with them, how to preserve them. So pick that up at our website for $15. And check back weekly for more videos here in the Alaska Garden. I'm Heidi Rader here with Cooperative Extension Service and Tanana Chiefs Conference. Thanks for listening.